Hello, my name is Kay Cotan, and I'm here with my co-author, Blake Bradford, for our book that is Mission Possible, Structuring Your Church for Missional Effectiveness. So it's good to see you, Blake.
Good to be with you, Kay. I'm really excited to introduce and share this resource. Today, we offer you this fun training video capturing a few scenes from First Church's Leadership Board meeting. The board is in their first year of moving into simplified, accountable structure. And what we're going to do is we're going to peer into their meeting. We're going to observe some of the bumps these leaders hit in leaning into simplified, accountable structure. And you'll get to experience some good practices and some of those not so good practices. Don't worry, we'll let you know which one is which.
Yeah, Blake, we decided to put this experience together just as a teaching tool from real life circumstances, right? We didn't have to reach far to look for stories of illustrations of what adaptive change looks like when it comes to accountable leadership. And we tried to put a little twist of humor in here just to make it fun for you as a listener, as well as those that helped us and participated. So we just really pray that this is a helpful tool for you and your other leadership board members, because it's hard sometimes to really figure out what is accountable leadership when we haven't ever seen it or practiced it or experienced it. So this is our way to let you peer into kind of experience what accountable leadership is and isn't, just so it's a teaching tool. So it might be easier for you to live into. What do you say? Should we take a look?
I look forward to seeing what our wonderful church board is experiencing.
Me too. Let's tune in.
I'd like to call our meeting to order this evening. Pastor, would you open us in a word of prayer as you always do? After all, you are the professional prayer, right?
Let us pray. Oh Lord, we welcome you into this space.
Let's redo that.
Well, friends, it's the top of the hour. Let's honor everyone's time and get our meeting started. Michelle, it looks like you are our prayer warrior tonight. Would you please open us with a word of prayer?
I would love to. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jerome, for those encouraging words from our spiritual development time on leaning more like Jesus. And Melvin, the wisdom you brought to us on the 5 dysfunctions of a team were enlightening and certainly shed light on aspects we still need to work on as a team together. Thank you for that time of leadership development. We have a special request for our agenda this evening that was sent to me a few days ago. So, Pastor Ralph, I didn't get around to sharing that with you. Oh, sorry about that. The request is from Arlene and Frank Smith. They are asking the board for approval to start a new ministry. The Baptist church down the road is doing this, and the Smiths think that it's a great idea and that we should do it too. They believe the church should be offering a ministry to provide transportation to medical appointments for those unable to drive themselves. Since the Smiths travel often to see their grandchildren that are out of town, they aren't able to offer any leadership in this particular area, but they believe that this is really something that we should be doing.
You know, I love this. We should do this. I make a motion to approve this new ministry. Just need a second.
Let's try a different approach.
Claude, I really appreciate your enthusiasm about this new potential ministry, but I think we need to pause for just a second. I recall that it's not in our lane of responsibility to decide what ministries need to happen, but instead it's Pastor Ralph and our excellent staff and our team leads. It's really their responsibility, and I'm sure we don't want to step on any toes tonight.
You're exactly right, Misty. I mean, with all due respect, Betsy, that ministry request should have really gone to Pastor Ralph rather than come to the board. And I don't think we want to surprise Pastor Ralph with things like this without him having at least a heads up before the meeting.
Yeah, I agree with both Mystery and Jerome. This is a good reminder of another thing. Pastor Ralph and the ministry team leaders plan ministries based on our mission, our vision, and the goals of our church. This is certainly a worthy ministry, but it doesn't seem to line up with our vision and goals, nor is there any discretionary budget to allocate for the ministry. If
Right.
memory serves me right, I believe Pastor Ralph has also set an expectation that for any new ministry request, the person making the request must identify how this ministry aligns with
Mm,
our ministry and our vision and our goals. And the names of the team leader and the team members that are passionate and willing to take on the ministry.
Thank you, everyone. You are so right. I went back to the old way of doing things and I failed to remember our lane of responsibility and authority. Thank you, Misty, Jerome, and Mike for holding our team accountable and not stepping on Pastor Ralph and the ministry team's toes. Pastor Ralph, I do apologize too that I did not share this request with you ahead of time. Had I done so, you would have likely saved us a little bit of time here this evening and reminded me that it's not appropriate to bring this to our board.
Okay, so I think there are multiple layers here of learning that we might be able to unpack. Do you think, Blake?
Oh, yeah.
So, first of all, the role of the leadership board is governance, not ministry. Ministry decisions are not made at the leadership board level.
Right, exactly. And second, the agenda is created as a collaboration with the chair and the pastor way ahead of the meeting. The agenda is sent out to everyone as part of the packet. There really shouldn't be any surprises. And also I saw on a third item, ministry alignment with mission and vision and goals, that is imperative. Otherwise, resources will quickly be diverted to some other wonderful, great cause that actually diverts us from our primary focus.
And, there's that fourth lesson in there too. And did you see how they did such a great job with respect, but they still held their leadership board members, held that chair responsible in their respective roles. And they didn't allow that conversation to continue. They stopped it so it didn't waste people's time and they adjusted. So let's not forget that first valuable lesson that we are called to be spiritual leaders, right? Not just the pastor.
Right. The whole board are spiritual leaders. And that's, that's a challenging change for many new leadership boards, is a shift in this simplified accountable structure. Even though it might seem like a technical change, nevertheless, it's a really difficult shift for some leadership board members, because we want to kind of file away in our head what everyone's role is. And really what it is, it's about a team role. The whole team is spiritual leaders. Let's return back to leadership board meeting. Let's see what else we might learn.
Pastor Ralph, would you please share with us your accountability report?
So last week at the Easter egg hunt, we had 75 children participate. What a joy it was to see all of those small children running all over the church lawn. And y'all, I cannot tell you the last time I've seen Sister Ethel this excited.
Let's redo that.
So during this past month, our ministries have resulted in some real fruitfulness. You probably noticed this in my report that's in your packet. First, we've had 3 new first-time guests, with one of them returning, and all I can say is amen.
Amen.
Second, you all will remember one of our goals this year was to build new relationships with our neighbors. The 3 measurements we put into place to help us monitor this progress are to engage with 100 new adult neighbors through attending bridge events and one-on-ones. Our second was to gather 35 names to begin building relationships. And our third one was resulting in 10 new people engaging at least 3 times in ministry through worship, small group, or service.
Mm.
So we've hosted 33 adults at the Easter egg hunt. So that's 33 out of our 100 goal. And we've gathered 18 names so far, 18 of our 35. And our connection team will be investing in relationships with those 18 new friends to work towards the third part of our goal.
Great.
Well, Pastor Ralph, that is just incredible. You have really rallied folks together, and that's the most attendance ever. And I think this is the first time we've been so intentional in gathering names. And thanks for challenging our congregation to grow intentionality around ministries. This is great.
Yeah, Ralph, how many children attended? Did you all get all the candy for the eggs that you needed? I know that there was a concern, I think, about not having enough. And I mean, I even had my ears and everything ready for tonight's meeting because I was so excited about this exact thing that you're talking about. And so I even wanted to know, like, what businesses ended up donating food for the event, because that was really important. Well, let's see if we can do that a little differently this time. Thank you, Pastor Ralph. You demonstrated great leadership by challenging the team responsible for this event through helping them see their connection to the overall church goal and the importance of their ministry in helping us be faithful to accomplish the goal, and more importantly, really to live into God's vision, God's preferred vision for our church. So it's now May. I can't believe it's May, nearly halfway through the year. So while you and the Bridge team are making great progress on the goal, I believe there was a one-to-one portion of that goal too. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
You know, Pastor Ralph, you are doing such a great job at visiting our shut-ins. In fact, you know, I was talking to Gladys yesterday, and she so appreciated your visit.
Let's redo that.
Remind me, Pastor Ralph, how many of those new relationships were to be from one-to-one new relations resulting from you and key staff?
Hold on. I've got it here.
Okay.
Pastor Ralph covered the 3 measurements in engaging new adult relationships earlier, but rather than placing all the responsibility on our ministry teams, we specifically asked Pastor Ralph and Candace, the director of family ministries, to take personal responsibility for 10 new relationships, resulting in a total of 3 new people engaged in ministry. The numbers you reported were from that event. What were the numbers, including the portions by Candace and yourself?
Well, there are no results to report.
Pastor, again, you've done a really great job preparing the Bridge team for the event. What do you think is the disconnect from equipping a team for this work and you and Candace investing in new one-on-one relationships?
Well, I think if I'm being completely honest, I think that I'm not making those new relationships our priority, and I'm not setting an example for Candace to make it a priority either.
Well, Pastor, how do you think that we can help and support you in such a way that this can actually become a priority?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I haven't really thought about it. I wonder if maybe I schedule a particular time and day and even put it on my calendar like I would any other appointment if it would more likely happen. And Candace could do the same thing.
That's a great idea, Ralph. May I ask you this? As you sort of think about the average rhythm of your week, what day might work best for you to sort of carve out time every week just to invest in new relationships?
Yeah. Let me take a look. So looking at the fixed events such as, staff meeting and sermon prep and all of that, it looks like Thursday mornings might consistently work the best.
Write that down, Pastor. Sounds like you have the solution.
And you know what? I can check with you on Sunday morning to see how Thursday went. And I promise not to call you Friday because I know that that's your day off.
Wow. Wow. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone. I was feeling awful about not making progress on that personal goal, but I just couldn't seem to figure it out. And the solution was really pretty simple and pretty easy once we started really thinking about it and looking for that solution. So I appreciate the support you guys gave me in helping me walk through that. And I'm going to do the same thing with Candace over the next few days. Wow. So now let's look at our next goal.
All right, so let's work through our packet, starting with the approval of the minutes from our last meeting.
Hold on. Let me open that file. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Oh, okay. Hold on. Minutes. Let me give me a second to scan this if you don't mind, and let me see if I find any errors or need for changes.
Let's try a different approach.
Since our leadership covenant calls for us to review these ahead of the meeting, I trust my colleagues have upheld this covenant, and I therefore make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Great work, team. We zipped right through that packet. Thank you so much for your preparation. For our strategic work today.
Hey, Betsy, just excuse me. I feel like I have one thing that we might need to dive into. Like there's kind of an elephant in the Zoom room that we haven't been addressing for some time.
Of course, Misty. What is it that needs to be named or identified?
So no one's mentioned Lucy's absence. And Lucy's not here tonight. And it really was starting to bother me. So I looked back at past minutes and I noticed that, we remember she joined the board officially in January and she attended our January meeting and our March meeting, but that meant she missed February and April and now tonight in May. And, the covenant's important to me. And I know that one of those things that we placed in it was the importance of these meetings and us to be present and that we really shouldn't miss more than 2 meetings in a year. And Lucy's already missed 3 in 5 months.
You're right, Misty. I had wondered about that, but I didn't want to bring it up. Thank you for calling us into accountability. I know she travels for a job sometime. Has anyone spoken to her about her attendance?
No. I have always emailed her to tell her that she was missed, but I haven't had a conversation with her about missing the meetings.
Looking at our leadership covenant, it speaks to our commitment, but it really doesn't address who's going to hold them accountable. So I wonder who that would be. Would it be Pastor Ralph?
Hey, before we get too far ahead, can I just add something here? As leaders, I believe the overall theme in our leadership covenant is that we, the leadership team, hold each other accountable. It isn't necessarily Betsy's job as the chair or Ralph's job as the pastor. It's we.
You know what, Jerome, you are right. I would be happy to join you in having coffee with Lucy to chat about her commitment to the leadership board. I know it's hard, but I know it's the right thing to do. So Jerome, could we do that within the next week? And then I would be happy to report back to the group about the conversation.
That sounds like a plan. Thursdays and Friday mornings are really good for me.
Perfect. I'll try to make a plan for that.
We have just watched this new leadership board navigate a few more moments of accountability. Let's recap them. First, because of its governance role, the leadership board keeps conversations up at the balcony level. If they don't, the leadership board is veering down into management lane in really no time.
That can happen before we know it. So true, Blake. So that second learning was really important too. The leadership board did a great job. well, okay, on their second try, they did a great job in an accountability conversation with the pastor. Sometimes those are really uncomfortable conversations, especially for laity to have with their pastor. And it hasn't been something that has been modeled well or modeled at all for several of our churches, which is why I think it's kind of hard to imagine what that might look like. But they demonstrated so well how this could be both an empowering conversation, but it was also a problem solving. There was relief for that pastor after they helped kind of work through it. I mean, there was somewhat of a reluctance and an embarrassment, but by the end, the pastor felt empowered and encouraged. Because of the bad rap that accountability gets, and it does get a bad rap, doesn't it? Leadership board members sometimes avoid these kind of conversations because accountability has been defined as something maybe negative or punishment or punitive, which is not at all what it is.
Oh, I hear you. And I have to say, I was really feeling for the pastor there. I've been there. Oh, golly. But accountability is so often misunderstood, and it goes straight to anxiety and fear. And then what happens, because we don't want to get into that mode, we end up refusing to adopt the practice of accountable leadership, not realizing how incredibly detrimental it is when you're trying to have this simplified, accountable structure. And then if you don't do it, what a missed opportunity, because the church is not living up to the God-sized dream that the members and Christ has for the congregation. And so let's remember the third lesson: the leadership board's accountability of each other. And wow, we're not good at that either, are we? Yeah. Once again, this is an adaptive change for most leaders, shifting to this simplified, accountable leadership. And, I know, Kay, you've been there when you're consulting with church teams and trying to work with it. And we sometimes hear, and it's usually not in the room, we hear it out in the break room or the so-called parking lot, this frustration with fellow leaders. And we're leaving it in the parking lot and not around the meeting table. We're not addressing it in the context that is really helpful and transformative. And that means we're wasting time. The issue in the meantime is just growing and growing and growing, all while leadership board members looking at each other are just getting frustrated.
Yes, frustrated. And how many meetings have we been in, that are frustrating? And it's not as uncommon as we might want to think it is. And it's this very lack of accountability. Not sure that they would call it that. They just say it's so frustrating. We never get anything done is how it might be described. But it's that lack of accountability, practicing that accountability at the leadership board level that causes some leaders to just disengage. I don't want to be a part of church leadership because it just doesn't feel like we ever get anything done. And then ultimately it keeps the church from its missional focus because we allow people to go off the rail or to not be held accountable by the very things that we have deemed are the most important, those missional focus. So let's tune back in and see what that leadership board has on their agenda next.
We now need to talk about replacement of the flooring in the parlor. You have bids in your packet, and I have invited Dennis from our building maintenance team to walk us through those bids and show us some of those samples.
Let's redo that.
You have been presented with 3 bids on the carpet project for the parlor. Do we have any questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
This is already in the budget, so I make a motion, we accept the lowest bid.
I second that motion.
Wait a minute, have we even seen samples and, who picked the color?
Melvin, I appreciate that you want the parlor carpet to look nice and last a long time, but we just have to remember that those details are not a part of our lane, responsibility, or authority. We have trusted those decisions to the building maintenance team.
You're right. Good reminder. Thanks for helping remind me to kind of stay out of those details. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
So we have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? All in favor to approve the lowest bid, say aye. Oppose, say nay.
Aye.
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 The lowest bid has been approved unanimously. On to our next item.
Wait, excuse me, Betsy. Before we move on, I think it seems like we have an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
So I'm just struggling a bit to understand why we're taking the time to look at bids, making the building maintenance team wait for us to meet, and us approving the purchase when we get this project that has already been approved in the budget. That just seems like really repetitive work to me.
That's right, Michelle. That sounds like a great opportunity, perhaps, for a guiding principle. Let's give the building maintenance team and any other maintenance team leader or staff member permission to move ahead with those purchases since they're already approved in the budget without us having to stop the process and intervene. I suggest we adopt a guiding principle that gives us, the permission for purchases to be made that are already approved in the budget and allow them to proceed without coming back through us. Let's also require, while we're at it, purchases over $2,500 to require bids. The ministry team leader can seek 3 bids and simply take the lowest bid. The ministry team leader, of course, would provide the documentation of those bids in the packet as simply a FYI. This will keep us from being the bottleneck for purchases, but also ensure that we are good stewards with our bids, accountability, and documentation. So it'll only come to us if it goes outside of the parameters.
Wow. Wow. That would really help projects move along so much faster and easier. And I know that the staff and ministry team leaders would really, really appreciate that.
I totally agree. I make a motion to accept that recommended guiding principle.
Let's look at another example of how the carpet project could be handled.
Okay, so you have been presented in your packet with 3 bids on the carpet project for the parlor. So does anybody have any questions? If there aren't any questions, can I get a motion?
Y'all, Sister Ethel came by my office today to share with me some concerns that she has. You know, she's part of the ambassador Sunday school class that meets in that room, and she and I think others are concerned that they're not being able to have input into the color choice. And I told her that I would bring it to our meeting tonight and share that concern with you all.
So can I just say something here? You know, as I think about this, Pastor, I think that it's important that we spend our time here in our meeting being focused on our vision and our mission. The details of you know, what color and who knows the information and all that, that's part of the role or the major role of the building maintenance team.
Right.
And we empower them to do that. And so really our role is just to really be focused on how well we're working into our vision and our mission in the church.
You know, Jerome, if it were anybody else, I'd agree with you, but this ambassador class represents some of our longest term members, and frankly, they are the ones with the deep pockets, and I don't think we can afford to alienate them over carpet colors. Maybe there's a way to solve it that doesn't violate what we're trying to do.
Let's try a different approach.
I can certainly understand that. I think, though, where we are called based on what we've decided as our governing principles, our job is to really be focused and to spend our time and energy on the bigger picture of vision and mission, and allow then the building maintenance team to be the ones that take on these detail and make the individual day-to-day decisions about it.
Jerome, I really appreciate you saying that and framing it the way you did. I think what I'm going to do tomorrow is call Dennis from the building maintenance team and ask him if he'll take some time to go talk with that class and share with them the process and answer any of the questions that they may have.
That's a good idea.
Great idea.
Now take a look at another common situation that boards stumble over.
So I have just something I would like to bring to the group. I have a teenager, and I have heard some grumblings about the youth director, and I kind of feel like some of the programs, some of the things that are going on within the time that they spend together have not been very fruitful for ministry. And I'm concerned because what I also see is the numbers are dropping each week. We have fewer and fewer kids. So I feel like we probably need to discuss that because it's important to our numbers. It's important for the discipleship of these youth.
So Chantel, I'm glad you brought that up because I've been hearing some of the same thing and a bit concerned. And maybe I could suggest that we form a small sub team to go and have a conversation with our youth director about this.
I can be a part of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Misty, I really appreciate your initiative in wanting to form a sub team. But according to our guiding values and our authority and the lanes that we've defined for ourselves as a group, this isn't actually falling under our realm of responsibility. Chantel, I appreciate you bringing up your concerns as well. I think you should bring these up to Pastor Ralph, as supervising the staff is in his job description, and we want to make sure that we respect that.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'll follow up with you, Pastor Ralph.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll follow up too.
Wow, Kay, another great collection of accountable leadership lessons. Each of these last three scenes were really different circumstances, but they all had the same underlying theme: staying in the proper lane. Those guiding principles, they're so important. They define areas of responsibility, areas of authority. They empower this permission-giving culture for healthy and fruitful ministry to really thrive.
You know, and Blake, in my experience, and I'm sure you found it in the churches that you've worked with as well, that guiding principles is oftentimes that very piece that they put on the back burner, or they just kind of do, but don't really do, nor do they look for those possibilities of keeping them updated and adding to it to free up ministry. And so I just want, this is why we put so much in this actual demonstration for you, because it comes up so often and in so many ways that if only the guiding principles were there, it would help us with our accountable leadership. Without guiding principles, we veer into management so easily as the leadership board, or there's lack of clarity of roles because we haven't done those guiding principles. So without them, we just get ourselves into hot water pretty darn quickly. So even though it feels like work, that work up front is such a great investment that pays dividends later beyond measure.
You bet. You bet. Now, obviously, we didn't see an entire 90-minute leadership board meeting. These were particular nuggets plucked from First Church's leadership board meeting that provide insights into the most common accountability gaps. To recap these common struggles around accountability, here we are. First of all, governance, not management. That means, staying in the governance lane and out of that management lane. Second, we have issues of senior pastor accountability. In other words, holding the pastor accountable to the mission, the vision, those God-sized goals of the congregation, staying focused on those and letting everything trickle down from that vision, mission, and goals. Third, leadership board accountability, holding board members, each other, accountable to that leadership covenant and letting that be a tool for accountability between board members. holding leadership board members accountable to stay in that governance lane. And when everything is wanting to try to pull us into different great things to do or neat stuff to do or exciting stuff to do that may not fit the mission and vision, well, golly, the whole team is now built into a way they can bring the conversation back because everyone has already agreed this is the bigger overarching goal. This is our mission and vision. So they've already given permission to each other to bring back on track and bring back accountability. And then I think of the permission giving guiding principles, continuing to find ways to provide a system, measures, pre-done decisions through guiding principles so they can stay on the macro rather than the micro of decision making.
Yeah, because we know those micro decisions are time consuming. They wear out the team. And that's where the frustration comes into play as well, because we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And, the other piece is when we talk about that accountability piece, Blake, I think it's important to remind our listeners that we noticed that it wasn't the chair and the pastor always holding the members, accountable, because so often the members of the leadership board leave it up to one or the other of them, which is not what the covenant calls for, nor its intention. It puts too much pressure on those two people if that's the way that it works. So I think that's another reminder, and they demonstrated it so well there at First Church, right? So I think the other thing is to remember once again that accountability it is not a punishment tool. Rather, accountability is all about support and encouragement, solution seeking. It's working towards a common mission. It's so empowering when it's done well at all levels. I mean, we are giving insights into the leadership board, but the cool thing is once we have those insights instilled at the leadership board, the pastor is learning how to do that and then uses that same accountability with staff and ministry team leaders. So
yeah, it's like a whole culture, isn't it?
Absolutely. And accountability is one of those cultural changes that's adaptive change, which is one of those things that we talk about that is one of the more difficult things to live into. Simplification, bottom line is it's fairly simple in comparison to the accountability piece, but it's the accountability piece that makes so much difference. And that's why we talk about it would be our hope and prayer that every church was practicing accountability. So we hope that this deeper dive into accountability, giving you hopefully with some fun and some humor, some insights into accountable leadership and how it can be empowering and that it really can be effective in helping us be much more vital and fruitful and missionally focused. So we hope it's been helpful. And for those of you that are looking for maybe copies of Mission Possible, be sure to find us either on Market Square or on Amazon. So thanks for joining us and thanks to our cast for demonstrating such great accountability within simplified structure.